Hey everyone, welcome back to TechBit Academy. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're doing another explainer, taking some pretty dense source material and turning it into something you can actually use. Now, we are tackling a total nightmare scenario that literally plagues developers and managers everywhere. Software projects that just completely spiral out of control. How do we actually save them before they even begin? Well, our source today breaks down the fundamental mechanics of software project management, and it hones in on the absolutely most critical component, the product. Okay, let's dive into this and see exactly how we can save our software projects from total disaster. So, what actually makes a software project fail? It's the ultimate nightmare, right? You pour all this time, money, and energy into a build, only for it to completely fall flat the second it's released. Well, according to the data in our source, the root cause usually isn't a lack of coding skills. No, it's way more fundamental than that. The source explicitly warns us that misunderstanding the core goal, meaning what it is you're actually trying to build, dooms the entire mission right out of the gate. If you don't know exactly what the end result is supposed to be, you're practically guaranteeing project failure. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. We have all seen a bad definition. It's like a sticky note just slapped on a monitor that says, "Make a food app." I mean, what does that even mean? Who is it for? Now compare that to a good definition, one that takes that fuzzy, vague concept and breaks it down into undeniable deliverables. Things like a user login, a restaurant listing, an order system, and online payment. By transforming a vague idea into a structured list of features, clarity literally becomes the antidote to failure. That precise definition is exactly what gets an entire team on the exact same page. Now, to see how this fits into the bigger picture, we really have to look at the core framework of software project management. It's called the 4 Ps: people, product, process, and project. These 4 elements entirely dictate whether a build is going to be a massive success or just completely crash and burn. It's a completely interconnected system. But if you look at that product piece specifically, if that one piece of the puzzle is misunderstood, it honestly doesn't matter how amazing your people are or how refined your process is. The whole system just breaks down. Let's zoom in directly on that product slice for a second. The product isn't just the clever name of your app. It's the final software system you are creating in its entirety. It covers all the specific features, the detailed requirements, the technical functions, and the exact needs of your end user. The source material is incredibly stark in its warning here, and I really want to emphasize it. If you do not clearly understand the product from every single one of these angles, the project will fail, period. So, knowing what's at stake, how do we actually build this clear understanding? Well, we use a rescue blueprint made up of 5 critical product layers. That's requirement, design, implementation, testing, and deployment. Going back to our food app example, we can't just skip ahead to picking out pretty colors or writing complex code. Let's move to and see how this builds step by step to ensure every single feature is built on an unshakable foundation. Step 1 of this anatomical breakdown is the requirement layer. This is the absolute bedrock of your application. Our source notes 2 critical components here: functional and non-functional requirements. Functional is exactly what the system does. Like allowing a user to log in or add a burger to their cart. Now, non-functional doesn't mean it's broken. It just dictates how well the system does things outside of those direct features. We're talking about app load speeds or data security. Defining both of these right at the start is absolutely crucial. Right, so once we know exactly what the app needs to do, we move right into the design layer. This phase dictates how the system is going to be structured and how it'll visually look. So this is your UI, or user interface, and your UX, user experience. Returning to that running definition of our food app, this is exactly where we map out the restaurant listings. How does a hungry user actually navigate from the menu all the way to the checkout? The design layer visualizes those strict requirements we just established and turns them into a highly usable structure. So, the crucial point is that only after the requirements are locked in and the design is fully mapped out do we actually start building the thing. And that brings us to the implementation layer. This involves writing the actual code and integrating the features. This is the moment where developers take those UI and UX designs, combine them with the functional requirements, and literally bring the app to life. For our food app, this means writing the logic that powers the user's order system and making sure that online payment feature is properly wired up. But hey, just because the code is written doesn't mean it works perfectly, right? That is exactly why we must move to the testing layer. Our source explicitly highlights 2 main types of testing included here: unit testing and integration testing. Unit testing looks at the individual smaller parts of the application just to ensure they work on their own. Then, integration testing checks if those parts actually play nice together. This layer is entirely non-negotiable, because without integration testing, your food app might look absolutely beautiful, but it could completely crash the exact second a starving user tries to process their online payment. Finally, we conclude our blueprint with the deployment layer. This is the grand opening, but spoiler alert, it doesn't end with just releasing the software. The source notes that deployment essentially includes an ongoing cycle of fixing bugs and pushing out updates. You release the food app out into the wild, you fix any bugs that inevitably pop up in the live environment, and you issue updates. It's just a continuous loop of maintaining that precise product definition we worked so hard to establish way back in the very first layer. So, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought today. Take a look at the projects you're currently working on. Are you defining your product clearly, layer by layer, or are you just building a vague food app and kind of hoping for the best? As we've seen from the 4-piece framework, if you don't truly understand the product you're building, from its core requirements all the way through to its deployment, the project is going to fail. So take a step back, apply these 5 product layers, and give your software the clarity it actually needs to succeed. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.